Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our weekly update. Thanks, Nicole. Today, we are actually trying to stream live on Facebook. So Nicole's going to be working on, she might pop in or pop out. So bear with us on that. Today, we want to have a little bit of fun. We're going to share some good news, add some perspective. As always, we're going to do a little bit of a coronavirus update, add some more perspective. We're going to talk about Kevin Harrington. I was able to be on a mastermind call with him yesterday and had a great conversation. And I'm going to share some of the things I learned from the original shark from Shark Tank, Kevin Harrington, the man, the myth, the legend, the as seen on TV guy. We're going to talk about some of the office updates, and then we'll talk about what's going on and what our plan is as things are starting to reopen. And we'll go from there. So welcome. And let's go ahead and get started here just as soon as I prepare myself. So here we go. Bear with me. All right, we're going to share a screen here with you. So it's always fun going live, right, folks? All right, so our weekly update, our COVID-19, dealing with COVID. We're going to be focused on level-headed weekly update. We want to keep our head while some of those around us are losing theirs. So when you want to work from home and somebody wants to video chat, this is beautiful. So we're seeing way more video chatting going on. So this is Zoom meeting audio only, Zoom meeting with video. That's beautiful. I mean, come on, if that's not funny, there's something wrong with you right now. Look at that guy. That looks like a 70s dog right there. Nice. So, mom's in a meeting from 9:30 to 11. Do not enter. If you're a mom, this might sound familiar to you. Do not enter. The answer to your question might be upstairs, in the wash. I don't know what's for dinner. No, in your bedroom. How about a piece of fruit? Beautiful. Love it. I just survived another meeting that should have been an email. Let's hope that's not what you're going to say after this one. I love this as we're doing more and more Zoom meetings. Alice, turn on your video. Turn your video on. No, it's the button on the bottom. Not that one. Over to your left. Jan, you're on mute. Jan, unmute yourself. Unmute. Beautiful. You guys have to, I mean, who doesn't remember? I do have some clients that have no idea what this is a picture of, but you gotta love the Brady Bunch. A lot of good news out there right now today. When I started reporting the recovery, instead of the death toll, which is what most of the news stations care to report, I wanted to report how many people had officially recovered. So on Monday, April 13th, nearly 1 month ago, it was 435,000. Today, as of today, 1.6, almost 1.7 million people have recovered. That is great news. New cases in the U.S., we're noticing that that is flattening. It's going down. And to be honest, I actually think that this number would be going up. I mean, so stop and think about this for a second, because we're going to be getting some news that's going to eventually hit where numbers are going to look like, oh, new cases are exploding. Think about what's going on with testing right now. There are a lot of tests that are now getting out that weren't out there before. So we're now, I think they're now identifying, hey, there's way more people that have it than what we initially thought, because they weren't testing as many people. If they're going to test more people, I think we're going to see a lot more people that show up with it. That's going to inflate those numbers quite a bit. In the past, I shared this story with folks on our webinar way back early on. We had a client whose mother lives with her and her grown daughter lives with her. Both of them had all of the symptoms of COVID-19. Called the doctor's office. Should we bring them in? They said, no, keep them at home. If it gets really, really bad, then bring them in and we'll test them. So, excuse me. So that makes you wonder how many people were told not to come in or weren't tested that actually would have tested positive. So it's important to understand that we're seeing new cases are flattening, even though testing is increasing. So I really believe that is a really good sign for us right now. Another thing to keep in mind is the U.S. virus recoveries. We're seeing that those numbers are actually going up quite a bit as well. So Helen Keller said, although the world is full of suffering, it is also full of overcoming it. With that, I'm going to share a story, which I don't have a slide on this particular story, but I do want to share this because I thought this was really, really cool. There is a woman in Spain. It is the oldest living woman, I believe, in Spain. Spanish, 113-year-old speaks after surviving coronavirus. 113-year-old woman, thought to be the oldest in Spain, has said she feels fine after surviving a brush with coronavirus. She was born on March 4th, 1907. So she has lived through the Spanish flu and also coronavirus. One of the things I think a lot about, we can easily find negative out there all the time. It's easy to find that. Finding the positive isn't always as easy. During times like these, I think facts are your allies. So it's important to understand that every tragedy is exactly that. It's a tragedy. Every life that is lost is a tragedy, but every tragedy needs perspective or we have panic. So 3 questions, perspective questions that I keep asking. How's the U.S. doing? Is it getting better or worse? And how does COVID compare with other diseases? So if you look at the population of the U.S. with 327 million compared to these other countries, and then you look at what the virus mortality is per 100,000, we're actually doing quite well compared to our neighbors in other countries, even though we have a much larger population. So that's something that's really good to think about. Spain or Sweden, their advice to their citizens was, be smart, practice social distancing. They didn't shut down their economy, and our numbers aren't really all that far from theirs. So 5.8% is the U.S. mortality rate. I beg to differ with those numbers. I don't think that that's accurate. It's my personal opinion. I will share why in a moment. 6.9 globally. Are all cities and states equally impacted? No. 57% of the U.S. deaths are in 4 states. Massachusetts actually moved ahead of Michigan, if we're keeping track. New York obviously has the most, followed by New Jersey, then Massachusetts with Michigan coming in after that. 72% of the deaths in New York were in New York City, only 38% for the rest of the state. The good news is that the COVID-19 new cases has really dropped dramatically in New York. So that's good news. Confirmed COVID-19 deaths are not being reported accurately. Excuse me, we've talked about this before. It includes people that weren't tested. So there are probable cases that are part of the death count. There was an article that I was reading that had, I needed to clip it, but I didn't. New York death toll source past 10,000. 3,700 at that time had never even been tested positive. There was another report that said out of 15,000, 5,000 were probably died from COVID, which what is kind of unique about this is that the symptoms for COVID are the same symptoms as the flu and a lot of times the same symptoms as lower respiratory disease. So it's kind of funny, the article I was reading said that lower respiratory disease deaths and flu and pneumonia related deaths are down, but I think that could be because those are being lumped in with coronavirus. There's also a financial component that is now a piece of this, which is for hospitals and not saying that hospitals are misreporting or anything like that, but there is also an economic factor that's at play. Medicare, Medicaid services, if someone's diagnosed with COVID-19, they're willing to pay double and sometimes 5 to 6 times more than somebody that would go in with the flu. So I just look at that and say, I wonder why the numbers are up on the COVID-19. But not saying that does have anything to do with it. I'm just a little leery. New figures, New York City added thousands of people who never tested positive. That's part of the article. Now, some of the good news that I'm looking at is in a recent study that they did in New York, it showed that millions of people in New York had already been infected with COVID-19, but they didn't have symptoms. And if you counted people with what they're doing and they're testing the antibody study, they would say the mortality rate might be 0.5% as opposed to the nearly 7 that they're reporting. Now, one of the things that they have discovered is people that have died from COVID-19 have had underlying health conditions, the main one being hypertension or obesity, chronic lung disease, diabetes, cardiovascular disease. So if you have one or more of these conditions, you need to continue to be cautious and think in terms of what can you do to help yourself be a more healthy person or to help your immune system. Start with a good, strong diet. Think about the foods that are going to work to help strengthen your immune system as opposed to the foods that don't. Exercise, sleep, having some fun. I mean, that's so important. Getting outside, taking walks, fresh air, those kind of things. One of the things that will not help your immune system is watching the daily death toll on the news. It leaves people, quite frankly, just feeling, can you control that? No. So when you are focused on the things that you can't control, it leads to depression. It leads to hopelessness and a feeling of powerlessness. And it really does lower your resistance. So think about this. When you are thinking about, in order to make money, what do advertisers or what do TV stations need? Well, they need to sell ads. And in order to sell ads, they need your eyeballs. They need you watching. So how do they get you to watch? How do they make people tune in? Well, they make everything about urgency and sensationalism, breaking news, the death tolls, and they're trying to elicit emotions. So we're prone to act and tune in when emotions of fear are triggered. And that is one of their strongest tools, and they're using the heck out of it right now. When you stop and think about the headlines, coronavirus and pandemic and the outbreak and the world will never be the same. And think about this. It's hard to ignore all these things. We've got print media. We've got TV stations devoted to market information, magazines telling us what's going on, websites that are trying to stay on top of things. The main ingredient for sales right now is getting people to tune in. So viewership today, there was a recent study that was done that viewership is way up. Advertising actually is down. Why is that? Because the government shut down the economy. Now, when they're done talking about COVID-19, what do you think this top story is going to be? What do you think the message is going to be? What do you think the message is going to be about the stock market or the economy or the recovery? The same people that are putting this out, that are trying to use fear to get you to tune in, when they are no longer talking about COVID-19, they're going to be talking about fear, and they're going to tie it towards markets and your money. So once it's no longer about your health, it's going to be about your money. So why do we ask yourself this? Since we can't get away from it, it's very helpful to ask ourselves a few questions to keep the proper perspective. So why do people tune in to the media? It's to be informed, right? So, but does the media really inform us of? What does it inform us of becomes the question. What does it inform you of? Is it informing you of short-term stuff? Or is it informing you of long-term stuff? Is it all about predictions or quotes? Or when we get to talking about the markets, is it, hey, here's what's going to happen over the course of your retirement? Or is it, here's what's happening this minute, this day, right now? Pay attention. Fear. Once fear is gone, the next piece that they use is greed. So you have to understand how they work. What's our time frame? Is it a day? Is it 5 days? Is it a month? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Well, when we're looking at things on a 1 5 day, a month, a 6 month, that's not really going to have an impact, a large impact on the scope of your life. Is it a good idea to watch the market every single day? We did in one of our earlier webinars, which you can get to on disbennettwealthmanagement.com. Go under resources and look at all the webinars that we've done over the past couple months. But in one of them, I talked about if you were looking at the market, how many days was it up and how many days was it down? It's about 50-50. However, if you look at it over a 10-year span, it's about 90-10. market's up 90% of 10-year spans versus 10%. So you have to put things into perspective. How long are you going to need your money in retirement? Is it going to be 5 years? This is dating back to 2015. Is it going to be over 10 years? So here's the big question for you. How might the financial media be a detriment to an investor? So hopefully you realize that the media is made more for traders and speculators and not for investors. And that if you heed the advice of the media, you're not really going to be a long-term investor anymore. You're going to cross the line from investing into speculating or short-term outcomes and short-term moves. To build a good financial plan, you should not be focusing on the short-term speculating. We call that gambling. Instead, you need to stay focused on the long-term plan. Oh, I hope that makes sense to you, because there are some consequences that are going to be coming from a prolonged shutdown of our country and the economy. And we're going to have some negative impacts on the economy in the short term. I've talked about this over and over again in previous webinars, but with protective measures that we have implemented here in the United States, you can see a recession without contamination or containment policies is a much shorter recession. The fact that we have prolonged it means that our recession is going to be a bit deeper, and it's also going to be a bit longer. So it's important to understand that as we move forward. Sweden is not going to have the same issues that we are because they haven't done the same things. Right now, we've got close to 30 million people that are out of work. Now, this is something that I'm thinking about a lot. Currently, we have people who are being paid more through the unemployment and the stimulus money. They're being paid more not to work than they are to work. Now, that has to have an effect on our economy. There are going to be businesses that go under. I was talking with Kevin Harrington yesterday. He was talking about a buffet chain, 97 buffets across the United States. They shut down, not temporarily, permanently. And you stop and think about it, how many people are going to want to go to a buffet on the heels of a coronavirus? There are going to be companies that go under. We're going to have people that don't go back to work even when the businesses open back up because they're getting paid more to stay home than what they would be getting paid to go back to work. There are things that are coming in the not so distant future that we're going to have to deal with, but keep it in perspective. As terms of a long-term plan, you have to understand that we're not planning for a short term, but a long term. So we're here, like we've always been, to guide you through the murky waters that lie ahead. Now, I mentioned before that I had some fun with my buddy Kevin Harrington. That's a great shot from when I did the program with him. He interviewed me for his program, Business Icons. You can actually watch that video on our website under our media page. That video is there in its entirety. You can click on it and watch it. It was a lot of fun that I had with him. I actually got to speak with him, and we were in front of a group a couple days before I did the, actually that was the day before I did the interview with him. So we were able to get in front of a room and have a conversation. But I always enjoy time that I get to spend with him because I'm talking, now if you don't know who Kevin Harrington is, let me set the stage for you. He was one of the original sharks from Shark Tank. I think he was in the first 178 episodes. He is the inventor of the infomercial. You've heard of As Seen on TV. That's Kevin Harrington. So when I'm talking about Kevin Harrington, he's a guy who's worth, I think, somewhere around, I don't know, $500 to $800 million. So whenever I'm around people of that caliber, I really want to listen and pay attention to the things that they're talking about. So I took notes on the, when I was talking with him yesterday. I was a part of a mastermind group with him and about 20 others. And something that I love about Kevin is he's always upbeat and optimistic. So, you know, right now the world's coming to an end, coronavirus. Now he's a product person. He has 15 different businesses. Their sales are down. And he was talking about back in 1990, he had something similar that happened. He was just getting into the infomercials. They had opened up offices in London. They were transcribing or changing. That was back the Ginsu knife days. And they were taking their infomercials and dubbing them in different languages in Europe. And they had just opened up into a market in the Middle East. So they were dubbing things in Arabic. In 1990, something happened. It was the Gulf War. And he had this multi-million-dollar company that was doing $2 million a week in profits, had full staffs, teams, lots of payroll and everything. And within 1 week, they were down 90%. So there were a lot of businesses during that time that went under. And Kevin said, well, that forced us to become very efficient. We had to change our business model. We had to learn how to do it. He wrote a book during that time called 100 Best Spare Time Business Opportunities. He's always thinking about what are the opportunities? What are the things that I can do? So he was talking yesterday about what's going on right now. Businesses are down. He said, it's given me an opportunity to get back to the roots of what I used to work on and work towards, which was working with inventors, people who invent new things, but they have no idea how to get it to market or take it. He said, I've been able to go back and I'm having a ton of fun doing this, and I'm able to do more opportunities. So here's a guy worth $750 million. He does not have to do anything, but he's excited about the opportunities that are going to come from this. He's also talking to me about the book that we're doing. So I don't know, you may or may not be aware that I'm co-authoring a book with Kevin. He's got 30 people that are writing the book with him, doing chapters. It's going to be how to build wealth like a shark. 30 tips from North America wealth builders or something along those lines. And we've been working towards that. He's wanting to delay the release of that. We were hoping to do that this summer, maybe into this fall. We might push towards Christmas, but very excited about that. But he's talking about working yet on another book and updating, what are the business opportunities that are coming about during this coronavirus scare. So there are people that I'm inspired by. And, Kevin is one of those people that you just can't help, but when you're around him, you get excited because he's like the Energizer Bunny. He's going 100 miles an hour all the time. And he rejuvenates me and makes me want to do a better job for all of you. So one of the things that we've talked about are things have changed. There are some things that have changed. So I don't get why I'm not losing weight. I love that. This is before the quarantine, after the quarantine. So here's something that has changed. This is Danica going to school to pick up all of her stuff because they're not going to put school back in session. So summer break, for those of you who have said, oh, I wish we had a longer summer break. Well, we've had the longest summer break in history right here. Here's something else that has changed. Cooper doing his math homework. That's beautiful. He's doing his math homework on the couch in his pajamas. So there's the question mark that when summer gets here, do we switch to shorts or just cut the legs off our pajamas? That will be the big question. Cooper was named Student of the Month last month. And I was like, how do you get that when no one is in school? But he's communicating with his teachers every day. Shout out to the Lauraville Elementary School teachers. You guys are doing a great job, and so glad our children were able to be a part of your classrooms. Buddy, this is something that's changed. He's getting a lot more one-on-one time. Cooper's out there cleaning him. He's a happy dog, man. Now, some things never change during this. Here's something that never changes. This is great. This is Danica and Cooper. They got together with their cousins. This was just yesterday. Danielle was shooting me pictures that they found. They went down to the creek and figured out a way to get muddy. That's something that never changes. Kids will find a way to get muddy. Cooper hunting some mushrooms. They're as big as his head. We did find some mushrooms. The mushrooms are still growing, so we're really happy about that. And here's something that should never change is, what are you grateful for? Take a little time and think about the things that you're grateful for, especially during times like these. Take a lesson from Kevin Harrington. What are the opportunities that are out there and available to us? A couple updates for the office that I want to share with you guys. So let's start with, as we continue to adjust for the environment, we are planning on reopening the office with the full staff in June. Until then, we are here to help. So we are operating with limited team. We've always got at least 2 people here. Occasionally, there might only be 1, but 2 to 3 people here at the office working. The rest are at home working remotely. So our office remains open from 9 to 5. We're answering the phones. We're processing mail. We're processing paperwork, distributions. It is business as usual here. The office at this particular time, we are doing remote appointments. We're either doing phone appointments or Zoom meetings, which has turned out to be very convenient. We will be looking at potentially doing face-to-face meetings again. We have some options for folks when we get to that. We're going to be able to bring people in if they're comfortable meeting, if they've practiced social distancing and they feel that they're good. We're okay with this. If they want to come in and be behind the mask, we're okay with that. If they want to do phone or video, we will be looking at that. But over the course of the next couple weeks, we're going to stick to phone and video. Anybody that wants to drop anything off, you can drop it off using the mail chute. You can bring it in the door, put it on the counter. You can call us, curbside delivery with any type of paperwork items and things like that. As we continue to move forward, we did add Nathan Schwab to the team, who's another CFP. He's been a valuable resource for us, and he's doing a great job. If you haven't met him or talked to him, he is reaching out to most of our clients right now, and you should be hearing from him soon. But feel free to call in and introduce yourself. He's probably already heard about you. He's doing a great job, and he's here and handling all the service issues as well. We're going to continue to communicate or over communicate as it stands throughout and into the next couple weeks and into June. I believe that we can see some more volatility over the next couple months, but every winter will come to an end. If you have questions, as always, don't hesitate to call. One of the things we announced before is that we weren't accepting new clients last month. As of right now, I did get a call from a couple of clients that had friends that had planned on retiring in 2020. And they called and said, Chad, they wanted to meet with somebody at the bank, and the bank didn't have anybody there, and they're not meeting anybody. Nobody can come in, and would you at least talk to them? And we did, and we figured out how to use Zoom as a tool to do meetings. So we have done a couple of those. We realize that right now there are a lot of people that do need help, and they do need some advice, and we are willing to help them. We've got Jonathan, Nathan, myself that are able to give some guidance on different areas. We've got Nicole and Christina who are holding down the fort on the back end, Danielle taking care of some of the administrative stuff. So we do have a full team that is in full swing, and we're working hard for you to make sure that we've got a handle on what's going on and what's coming, and making sure that your plan has taken this kind of volatility into account. For those folks that you know that need some guidance, tell them to go back, watch some of the videos that we've done, download our special report off of our website. You can have them call, set up. We will do a virtual appointment with some people to try to give them some guidance or help, because we know that there are some people that need it. We've got a business owner that just reached out to us that's in the process of selling a business. So we're trying to help them and give them some guidance. And as we kind of come through the other side, we've positioned ourselves where we can handle bringing on some additional folks and giving some guidance. So if you want to share these things, please feel free to do so. And also keep your comments coming. I got a beautiful card from one of our clients with a beautiful handwritten note thanking us for the things that we're doing. If there's something that you want to see, if there's information that you want, don't hesitate to shoot us an email and let us know exactly what it is that that you're wanting from us or wanting us to cover. You can send it to chad@disbennettwmg.com or info@disbennettwmg.com. We're happy to try to help you in any way that we can. With that, I want to continue to tell you to be safe, be smart, be strong, stay healthy. Most importantly, stay positive. And this too shall pass. And look for the opportunities and look for the seeds of hope and what can sometimes seem like a world of despair. This too shall pass. And I think that we're going to come out the other side even stronger than we went in. So with that, be safe, be strong, be positive. I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.